Okay, everyone, welcome. Thanks for coming in, people, on this beautiful net. Thank you so much, Natalie. It's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Oh, good choice, thanks. You know the rules, any tea, but not Lipton. Okay. Well, that's not even a tea, so there you go. Okay. So this was actually going to be a one-part series next week, but because I couldn't make it this evening, I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. By the way, it could become a 10-part series, so we may reinvestigate this over the summer, B'ezrat Hashem, God willing. But the topic is dreams. And I'm into this topic again now because I get a lot of questions on this topic. A lot has come through recently. People are having a lot more intense dreams. Since October 7th, I would say a lot of the questioning which I've been getting, for a number of reasons, there's going to be different levels to this, which we're going to peel back tonight a little bit, have come through this topic as well. Last summer we did a series on Daniel the prophet. Those who came to that, those who didn't, it's available online. We did an 8 or 9 part series, and dreams are a big part of that as well, because Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and Daniel the prophet was most famous for being a decoder of dreams and riddles. Actually, that was his real skill. So much so that he could even use his skills to figure out when Mashiach is coming. But we'll leave that for another time. What I want to talk to you tonight is about a book that actually sits next to my bed 24/7. I have 3 or 4 books that sit right next to my bed, and this is one of them. And this is one of the only good dream interpretation books that I fully hold by. And it was written by a Jew called Rabbi Shlomo Almoli. We don't know too much about him. He wrote a number of books. Most of them have been lost, and he never became that famous. But this one book that he wrote, which was translated about 20 years ago, parts of it into English, I have the original Hebrew as well, became an underground classic. He came from Salonika in Greece. Actually, as a side point, you should know that Salonika was one of the only Sephardic communities that was hit during the Holocaust. You should know that. There were other Greek communities, Ashkenazic ones, that were hit, and they got it bad because the train ride from Greece to Poland, most of them didn't even make it to Auschwitz. You can imagine the lengthy part of that. So there was a very strong tradition of religious, Jewish, knowledgeable life in Greece, in Salonika. Actually, someone sent me a video, weirdly enough, just yesterday of some street festival. You see this, by the way? That went a little bit viral. But that's another community. There's actually an Ashkenazi one called Yanina. It was also a very famous community. Anyway, that's why this great rabbi came from. And for his life, he spent a lot of time, because he used to get a lot of questions on dream interpretation. So his book that he wrote, Mafasha Chelmin, The Understanding of Dreams, gathered together the Gemara, Nevi'im, right? Because we see there's a lot of dreams in the prophets, the Zohar, and Aristotle and other non-Jewish sources. And he blends it together, and he was one of the few people who did it by category. So I want to speak for a few moments, which I've done before a number of times here, about the backgrounds of why dreams are important, their interpretation. But what I want to do this evening is go through some of the categories that he brings out and the interpretations that he gives based upon Jewish scholarly works which preceded him in order to understand what they mean. And the reason he wrote the book wasn't just so that he could interpret dreams for people. He wanted people to figure out themselves, because you can't have an interpretation written down for every dream that everyone has. So he basically used it as a way of giving a guide for people to understand how dreams work. And then he said that anyone really, I think he was being humble, can have the ability to interpret dreams if they have the right information. So let's start with a few basics which we always need, and that is just the Hebrew word for a dream is a chalom. A chalom is a dream. And the rabbis point out the word chalom is related to another Hebrew word, which is a chalon. What's a chalon? A window. So the idea is, say the rabbis, that your dreams are a window to your soul. To your neshama. We're going to see that dreams have the ability to reveal information from Shemayim, from the upper world, that normally wouldn't be able to filter down into this world. Now, we're going to talk this evening a little bit about when you have the dream, where you have the dream, where you see yourself in the dream. Just this past Shabbat, I had a dream that I had to look up. I'm embarrassed to say this particular dream, and I'm sure many of you had a very similar dream. It's a bit embarrassing, this one. I dreamt that I was walking, only wearing a towel, up the street I grew up in England. I can see it in my picture, and it's very embarrassing. You ever that, like, you're not? So, if we get a chance, I'll show you what he says about dreaming that you're naked or not very well dressed, which I wasn't. I was, Baruch Hashem, wearing a towel, a white towel, if it's of any interest to any of you. But I was walking up the street, and he actually says that dream depends upon whether you have the dream. If you in the dream are in Israel, which is not a good sign, or if you're outside of Israel, which is a good sign. And what that's based upon, I may try to come to. So when you have the dream, dreams at nighttime are different to dreams in the morning. Which are more significant? Anybody know? Morning. The dream. When are you seeing the dream? You ever wake up at 11:30 at night? Let's say you fell asleep at 10. You had a dream. As opposed to you wake up at 4, you go back to sleep, and you know ahead in the morning. Which one has more significance? Morning. The morning dreams have more significance. That's what he says as well. And the day of the month. The day of the month, the Hebrew month, have a dream also has significance as well. He's going to list it out for us. So the idea of a dream revealing information to us and giving us insights into our own souls, potentially about ourselves to other people. I have a very good friend, a dear friend of mine. He's a doctor and a rabbi. And he told me that a number of years ago, and he's not into this like, heebie-jeebie stuff at all, but he said a number of years ago, he had a very terrifying dream that he saw a Torah scroll on fire. All right? Now, he woke up, startled. By the way, the way you feel when you wake up actually has some significance. Okay? If you're frightened about that dream, that could be significant. It could be the dream is actually a good dream, but you got upset for no reason. It could be that you being upset in and of itself is a kapara, an atonement for your sins. Because while you were having the dream, you thought it was real. So one of the ways that Hashem removes a person's sins is by giving them scary dreams to allow them to have them do teshuvah. Because bad experiences that people go through help us atone for our sins. Your dreams are part of that. But this was the dream he had. He freaked out. He didn't know what it meant. Happened to be his mother called him in the morning, and she said, I have some bad news for you. The rabbi who you grew up with, who he actually had a very close relationship, died last night. And nothing else happened to him that would reflect this. So he took that as, the significance of this particular dream. So you can even dream about a situation about someone else, right, that has occurred. Okay? And I truly believe that was, he truly believes that's exactly what happened over there. The Gemara also says that a dream is a little bit of nevuah, of prophecy, a 60th of prophecy. We mentioned this fraction, this percentage, I should say, a number of times. Yeah, we know that sleep is a 60th of death. We know that fire is a 60th of Gehenna. We know the honey, the taste of honey is a 60th of the man. And we know that dreams are a 60th of prophecy nevuah. What is that idea of a 60th? What does that percentage refer to? And what it means is it's just a little taste of it. Oh, of course, the Shabbat is a 60th of Olam Haba. So a 60th always represents a little taste. It's a tam. You just get a little flavor of this world, of that other thing, which normally you would not be able to get an experience of. We can't experience Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh, right? And the answer is, actually you can. And how? By experiencing Shabbat. Okay? So one of the ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so prophecy does not exist. It disappeared. As I always say, we're no longer a prophet organization. Having said that, we still have dreams, and dreams come to us and give us a little taste of what a prophecy can be. But prophecy will return, by the way, as a side point, as the prophet tells us. So he talks about, it's not just him, this is a general idea, 3 types of dream. This is how the rabbis understand it, and he just collects this. And he says there are 3 different types of dream. One level of dream is actual prophecy. And this is the stuff we see in the Torah when it comes to Yosef, the great tzaddik, Yosef HaTzaddik, is a Navi, he's a prophet, he has a dream, right? We know that Yaakov, his father, saw the ladder with the angels going up and down. That came in the form of a dream. So these dreams are actually prophecies that come to the great holy individual and reveals information to them. Okay? Information that's going to be important to them or to other people that they need to hear about this information. Like Yaakov's dream is important to us because his dream represents the 4 angels he saw going up and down, represent the 4 exiles that his descendants would go through. Do you understand? So that wasn't just a dream that he had. I had a really bad dream last night. It wasn't just relevant to him, or it wouldn't have been recorded in the Torah. If it was recorded in the Torah or the prophets, it must be that dream is relevant to all the Jewish people. Okay? So that's one level of dream, and that comes to holy prophets. There's another level of dream which he differentiates very interestingly, and that is Rasha'im. Bad people have dreams as well, but that information is also important, but they're not prophets. But they're given this information in the form of a dream. Okay? Like Lavan has a dream. He's visited, right? Via a dream. And that information is revealed to him. Bilam was a prophet of sorts, for sure, and information was revealed to him as well. So these are people who are not the highest level, it's like one level below. One level below. And then there's information that comes to them. He doesn't like the fact that these people are called prophets because they didn't have prophecy, but Hashem needed information to come through them in order to go out to the world. Nebuchadnezzar has dreams. He has a very famous dream of a statue. He has a number of dreams. The most famous one is a statue of the 4 different metals that represent the 4. So he also, but he's not a prophet, but God is going to allow angels to feed dreams into his mind so that Daniel could interpret it and end up impacting the rest of us. Are you with me? Then there's the lower level, which is the stuff that we get or can get. And that's stuff that is revealed to us at a much lower level that could reveal information to us, could inspire us, could help us atone, could be information that you need in order to understand something, like the burning Torah scroll, I guess, would be an example. But there are thousands of stories. Every Sephardic woman has a story about a dream that she had, or her mother had, her grandmother had, that came to reveal something. Even I got, in my family, a dream that came to my grandmother, came to reveal information. Right? Everyone, and Ashkenazim too, I'm not, being biased over here, but everyone's got some story of some dream. I told you I have a great rabbi, Ashkenazi rabbi, and he says, if a woman comes to him with a dream, he listens. But if a Sephardic woman comes to him, he listens intently. There's something in there that he knows he needs to know, right? Because he always says they're tuned in at a much higher level. A little bit jokey, but there's some little bit of emet to that as well. Then there's stuff, now this is going to be interesting, that is just your mind processing information. Just stuff you've seen during the day which comes up in your head. So when someone tells me they had a dream, right, that they saw something, I'll be like, well, have you been involved in this something recently? Have you heard something? Have you seen something? Dreaming about war, but were you watching television or the internet that you saw war stuff? Then it doesn't have so much significance. He says, very interestingly, even those dreams have significance because your mind is going to find metaphors, listen carefully. Your mind is going to find metaphors, he says, that you've seen during the day in order to implant information that you need based upon what you saw. Because what is a dream? It's a metaphor. We're going to see. Dream about a well, it means something. Dream about a marsh. Dream about the sea, the ocean. You dream about a dog or a cat. You may have seen a cat during the day. So your mind is capturing that animal or that scene and putting information into it. Okay? And using that metaphor to help you understand something else. So Most of the time people say, well, you just dream about something you saw. He is very interested, Rabbi Al-Moli, he says, even those dreams are significant because your mind didn't grab that image for no reason. Do you understand? He makes a pashara, a compromise between those two ideas of stuff he's seen during the day and still giving you valid and important information. Okay? In addition, we have a tradition which is mentioned a number of places. Well, actually, I want to talk about the time and location thing first. We know that Yosef had dreams. And these dreams, there are actually 10 dreams of the Torah that are very important, that we wouldn't be here today without those dreams. So we know that Yosef had a dream. He had the dream about the wheat bowing down to his right and the stars bowing down to him and the different planets. Interestingly, as a side point, every dream has some nonsense in it. Okay, except for Moshe Rabbeinu's dreams, but every dream has a little bit of nonsense that's added in, a little bit of chaff, right, of husk that's added to the wheat. Okay, because we're still physical beings, we can never have full, complete, clear perception when it comes to dreams. Having said that, Yosef says to his father, I've had these dreams. And the brothers find out about it. Now, the brothers are very upset with the dream. I'm going to tell you why in a minute they were upset with this dream. Put that aside. It says, however, the Torah tells us that his father, Yosef, Yaakov, heard Yosef's dreams, and he kept Yosef's dreams to himself. He held on to them. Meaning he kind of poo-pooed them, because he didn't want to upset the other kids, but he held on to them. What does that mean? So the Midrash tells, and he quotes the Midrash that I've never seen before, but he quotes it, and the Midrash says that Yaakov actually wrote down what Yosef told him and said, what he saw in this dream is going to be important and valid, and I want the information written down so I won't forget it. Because we all know we forget dreams. If you forget your own dreams, you're probably going to have someone else's dreams. So actually, he says he wrote it down. Not only that, he took a pen in his hand, recorded it, and recorded the day and hour that the dream occurred. And he says, the Midrash says, it was a morning dream. And then he says, we know that morning dreams are more likely to come to pass. There's more chance that a dream you have in the morning, he says, based on the Midrash of Yaakov and Yosef, is more likely to happen. And dreams while you physically are in the land of Israel have a higher chance of coming true and being accurate because Israel is Kadosh. And prophecy can only there are those people who say that only dreams that take place in Israel, even dreams, have significance. Because that's the most tahor place in the entire world. So he doesn't believe that he dreamed because he was outside and he interpreted the dreams outside, but he definitely says that dreams that happen in Israel, which was where Yosef's dreams took place, have more relevance and more significance. He does even say that as well. He then says also that the day of the Jewish month, you have your dream, also has significance. I'm going to just run through it. Okay? I'm going to run through it. First day of the month, whatever you dream is going to turn to joy. So people say to me, I had a terrible dream last night. I'm like, you don't know it's a terrible dream. You don't know what your dream means. Right? I mean, the classic one, which I always give an example, is someone said to me once, had a terrible dream. I saw a snake in my dream, a really scary snake in my dream last night. Terrifying. The Gemara, this is not some heebie-jeebie concept, the Gemara, which does not discuss Kabbalah, the Gemara in Berachot, the first tractate at the end, the 9th chapter, tells us what that dream means, which is seeing a snake in your dream. What does it mean? Make a lot of money. It's a great dream to have. You want to see a snake in your dream. Now, let's say I told you I had a very scary dream last night. There was a big serpent and it bit me. Now, what does that mean? It's even better. It means you're going to make a ton more money. Let's say that you kill a serpent in your dream, says the Gemara. What does that mean? Lo aleinu, you're going to lose money. So whatever you do, do not kill the snake. Okay? Whatever you do. Good. Just don't dream of killing it. Day 2 to 3, there's no truth in the dream, he says. It's just any dream that's going to pass. Day 4 to 5, whatever you dream will come to pass only after a long time. On the 6th day of the month, whatever you dream will come to pass, whether good or bad. By the way, we're going to talk a little bit we know we have a tradition, the Gemara mentions this too, and you'll see in Sidurim, actually I looked in my big Sephardic art scroll Sidur, it has this prayer in there that a person should say to help get rid of a dream. When do you say that? When do you say that prayer? If you think you had a bad dream, or it really scared you, you want to get rid of it, when should you pray that this dream should turn from bad to good or be wiped away? During Birchat Kohanim. While the Kohanim are blessing us, there is a prayer. The Ashkenazim say it on their Jewish holiday. That's the only time they do Birchat Kohanim, unless you're in Israel or parts of Israel, especially Yerushalayim. But we Sephardim, we do Birchat Kohanim every day. So if you had a bad dream, look inside, right, the Siddur, and there will have a special prayer. You say what they're saying, giving the brachot that help to ameliorate a dream. I will mention there's only 2 fasts that can take place on Shabbat, lahalacha. One is Yom Kippur, and the other is the fast over a dream. Now, I've never met anyone who's done a fast on Shabbat. But I'm sure it's happened. There have been people who've had terrible, terrible dreams and on a Friday night, and they go to the rabbi was like, fast on Shabbat, because that's the day it happened. And then you have to do teshuvah for not eating on Shabbat because you didn't have your meals. So you have to fast again during the week to make up for not having your meals on Shabbat. So don't have bad dreams on Friday night, whatever you do. That's not recommended. Okay? I've never met anyone who's actually been told to fast on Shabbat. But the halacha happens to be the ilat of a tanit chalom on Shabbat itself. He carries on day 10 to 11. Whatever you dream will come to pass after a while without accident. Day 12, whatever good dream will come past quickly. Day 13 to 14 of the Jewish month, whatever you dream will come to pass as a dream within 18 days. And therefore you should pray during that time to help get it wiped away or if it actually happen. Day 15 to 16, whatever you dream will come to pass after a long while again. 17, whatever you dream will come to pass in 4 or 5 days. I don't know where he's getting this from, but he was an expert in dream interpretation. Day 20 to 21, the dreams on these days lie. Some say if they come to pass, there will be a rejoicing. Bit of a contradiction, but he does that a lot. He'll mention one dream, and it'd be like, the Zohar says it's a terrible thing, but we have a tradition. The Rishonim, it's a good thing. So you've got to figure that out. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to figure that out. Partly it depends where you are and what's happening in your life. Like he talks about in the back of the book a number of people that he helped interpret dreams for and how he discussed with them. And you see, got to know them. He didn't just like, what did you dream? Right? You can't just like, throw on the internet, I dreamt about a cloud or something. What's happening in your life, get to know you, what's happening. It's all metaphors and symbolic, help you figure out what's happening in your life at that time. Okay? Day 23, whatever you dream will be turned into an argument, a dispute. 26 will turn into rejoicing, peace, rejoicing, and more of that stuff. Okay. Before I get to the main part I want to discuss with you today, one last piece. And this is very important. The Gemara tells us that the interpretation that you give a dream actually impacts how it comes to pass. As we say in Hebrew, holech achar pitrono. The interpretation which you get from someone else who comes, that's why you have to be very careful you go to interpret your dreams. Whoever they are could be giving the interpretation which makes it come to reality. The Gemara says a dream is like a piece of paper that's put inside an envelope. And the interpreter is allowing the envelope to be open and be read. Because when it's inside the envelope, it's meaningless. No one knows what it is. So the dream interpreter is like the person, says the Gemara, it's the Gemara, that says it's like a letter that's being read. Why would that be? Why would it be that holech achar pitrono, that the interpretation you give of a dream affects its outcome? That's extraordinary. Is that strange? Why would that be? Either it means something, it doesn't, right? Whatever God decided, right? This information is being passed down via an angel or some kind of malach, or he does talk quite a bit about dreams coming from demons. I don't know if that's still applicable anymore. I'm not sure, but he does talk about dreams coming from impure sources, right, which are not good to get information from. So you have to know the difference. Okay, I'm not sure how that works, but he does mention that. But how do you know, right? What does make a difference whoever the person is trying to interpret your dream. So the answer could be that, like we just said, the information is there. It's like I tell you there's a bank account with a lot of money in it. But if I don't give you the ATM card and keypad, which we have the power to do, you can't get the money out. You understand? A dream could be the same thing. It's there, it's latent, but until you open the lock in order to let the information out, it doesn't have any impact in the world. Maybe in Shemayim it does, but not in this world. So be very careful who you go to. And even great scholars, the Gemara in Barachot tells a fascinating story, and it goes on for a long time, this story, right? I mean, it's rare for the Gemara to tell one story for a long, long time, but it does over here, about two great rabbis, Abaye and Rava, very famous rabbanim in the Gemara, and they seemingly were not, he said, they were not experts in dream interpretation. So they found someone who was, and his name was Bar Hadaya. It's Gemara, Bar Hadaya, and he was an expert. And he always gave interpretations to Abaye and Rava, two great rabbanim. But he always gave a bad interpretation to Rava, and always a good interpretation to Abaye, although they had seen the same dream. And that's very weird. I mean, the fact that we've seen the same dream is unusual in of itself, but leave that aside. He always gave a good interpretation to Rava about his dreams, right? Even if they saw different dreams, or a bad one to Rava and a good one to Abaye. What was the difference? So the Gemara tries to figure out why this was. Why was it always giving Rava a bad interpretation? So one opinion which he brings down is he just thought he had bad mazal, and the dreams are just reflecting his bad mazal. But the Gemara then says, do you know the difference between Abaye and Rava when they went for interpretation of dreams? Rava was not paying him for the interpretation, Abaye was. So Bar Hadaya, this dream expert, says the Gemara, was being paid by Abaye, gave him a good interpretation, and the good interpretation came to fruition. And Rava was not paying him, I don't know why, and he was getting a bad interpretation. Rava's life fell apart. He lost his money, he lost his kids, he lost his wife. Happened to be, there was a journey that Rava and Bar Hadaya were taking together once. They were on a boat. And while Bar Hadaya was jumping off the boat, a book fell out of his pocket, says the Gemara. Rava and Abaye picked it up. And in this book was written this idea that was printed in the Gemara afterwards, which was, you should know that dreams follow an interpretation. Rava went crazy with Bar Hadaya. He's like, what did you do? Because I didn't pay you? You gave me bad interpretations. Bar Hadaya felt terrible. He's like, I'm sorry, you're right. I gave you bad interpretations because you didn't pay me. Pay the rabbi. You didn't pay me, and it was terrible you did, and please forgive me. Rava's a big tzaddik. He says, I forgive you for everything except one thing. I'm not going to forgive you for the dream interpretation that led to the death of my wife. His wife died from a bad interpretation of a dream. Rava, the great Rava in the Gemara. Right? This is the Rava. This is the one who used to walk around cemeteries, right, and tell people how they died. You know what I'm saying? This was the great Rava. And he didn't know this vital key piece of information that the Gemara printed that became public knowledge afterwards. Ended up being that he felt terrible. He tried to escape. He went to another country. He became a dream interpreter in that country. He gave bad interpretation. He followed the same thing. He never changed his way, Bar Hadaya. He gave good interpretation to people who paid him, but the people he was dealing with now were bad people. Somewhere in, I think it was Afriki, in Africa somewhere. They killed him in a very, Rava cursed him, by the way, for doing that to his wife. And this curse went with him, and he ended up dying in a very, the Gemara even tells you, in a very gruesome, gruesome way, because of the way he treated this this dream interpretation. Okay? By the way, I will mention, that's why Yosef's brothers, he said, I didn't know this, by the way, when Yosef's brothers heard about the dream, which was going to involve them bowing down to Yosef, they got very scared. They got very irritated, and they scoffed at him. Who are you, the dreamer? They made fun of him. So I always thought they were just like, whatever, it's just a stupid dream, I don't believe in it. You know what I'm saying? But he says it's to do with this idea. They were basically saying that we don't put any credence into your dream, and therefore it's not going to happen. They knew something was up, But they said if we just give it like a non-viable interpretation, it's not going to happen. So they were actually not believing him. They were trying to get rid of his dream by pushing it away and interpreting it as being nothing and complete nonsense, which it wasn't. It was true. And remember, Yosef goes down to Mitzrayim. His brothers come down, don't know it's Yosef. They bow down to him. So that dream actually happened, right? In the form of wheat. Remember that? And the stars and the moon and the planets. Right? It's all to do with that. Okay? Now, also, I will mention that dreams also follow how many times you see them. So he said, where you see them are important. Literally, where you are geographically is important. Where the dream is taking place is important. Like I mentioned, my dream in the towel. Are you in Israel in the dream? Are you outside of Israel, or where you are? We're going to see in a minute, he's going to list a number of countries where you see the dream happening that actually help you interpret the dream as well. So where you are geographically in your dream as well is going to be important. But also how many times you see the dream. We know that Paro saw a dream twice. Saw a dream twice. There are two dreams. But Yosef said, actually, they have the same interpretation. So why did he need to see it twice? To make it known to him this is impactful. So when you see the same dream or a very similar dream more than once, there's more chance that it has significance and importance in your life as well. Okay? All right. So let's jump into, for the remaining few minutes we have together, I don't have too long. We'll do more of this next week, God willing. But I want to just go through some of the categories that he does. He was the master of categorizing dreams. Okay? So let's go through geographical locations. Okay? If you see yourself in a dream in one of these countries or lands, it has significance. If you see yourself in Edom, now where Edom is a good question. That could well be Italy or Rome. Maybe America as well, by the way. Trouble is going to come upon you. If you see yourself in a place called Aram, right, you have sinned. If you see a dream that you're in the land of Israel, it's a great dream. That means God's going to lead you there, he says. Seeing a dream with you in the land of Israel is good. Just make sure, as I mentioned already, you're fully clothed. Okay, as a side point. Listen to this. If you see it, and this is from 500 years ago. If you see a dream in Germany, a bereavement is going to occur. Damascus and its rivers, God is going to renew your life. Damascus, right? Cham, well, that is, we're not too sure, right? But some, maybe African. Trouble is going to come upon you, but you're going to survive. Jerusalem, do you ever dreamt you're in Yerushalayim by the Kotel? Good. God is going to give you a post of authority. How, what that authority is, depends on the person. It could be in their family, their business, their community, their life. It all depends upon, in other words, these are just the general rules. Jordan, your life is going to be full of righteous people. Ethiopia, you're going to find yourself in great trouble. Okay? So don't dream about being in Ethiopia. If you travel far west and you travel to a faraway land, it means you're going to travel far. Egypt, I would have thought bad, right? Mitzrayim. Los Angeles. Could be. That's pretty far west, as far as I'm concerned. And what's further than that? I don't know. Japan? I don't know. Egypt, upper west side. Egypt. A great good is going to come your way. He's dreaming about being in Mitzrayim. I'm not sure why. Okay? Then he talks about various things in countries. If you dream of a large city, if it's an unwalled city, troubles are going to pass you by. This actually fits in with other stuff because an unwalled city means the people inside are strong. They don't need walls to protect them. So if you dream you're in a city without walls, that's a good sign. Okay? If you see yourself returning home in a dream, that means your well-being is going to increase and become better. If you see yourself destroying a house, it's a bad sign. If you see yourself destroying that's a new house. If you see yourself destroying an old house, that's a good sign. That's a good sign because it's old, you're breaking it down, buy it, and new beginnings are coming your way. If you see a door or a doorway, marriage is coming close. So he says. I'm just telling you what Rav Amoli says. So you want to dream of a door or a doorway to a house, you will marry soon. So try to get that. You just keep dreaming of doors, all right? If you see a tree in your dream, he thinks it's not such a good thing to see in a dream. If you see a ceiling fall in a dream, not so good either. Remember, once again, I'm going to mention, it all follows the interpretation you give it at the time, or the person who interprets it, but also, even a bad dream, if it upsets you, could be the kapara. Now you've heard this, you dream of this thing, it's atonement for your sins. Or pray and it goes away, because teshuvah gets rid of everything. A mountain. So he quotes the Gemara, whoever sees a mountain should rise early and say a good pasuk this is very common, by the way, say a good pasuk in the Torah about mountains, how pleasant your mountains are, before another verse, somewhere in Tanakh, that says, I'm going to mourn on mountains. So you want to, even yourself, attribute a good pasuk or a good thought to the dream that you had. Okay? If you see yourself going up a mountain, it's a good sign. So you're getting it now. It's a good sign. If you see yourself going down a mountain, it's a bad sign. Okay, you look at your dream interpreters yourselves. If you see yourself at a high place, you're going to achieve friendship of high officials. If you see yourself looking out from a high place, signifies a long life. Arichat Yamim. Why? I don't know, that's what he says. If you see yourself standing in a narrow place, you will profit, and it's a good sign. Okay? He says, even I do not know why. On the contrary, I've heard many that say that they've seen themselves in a very, very narrow place where there's no exit or struggle, they have a narrow hole, right? And they think it's bad. He says, I disagree. I believe it's a good sign, and that's what I learn. If you see yourself going up a ladder, good sign. If you see yourself flying, he says, and moving around, which I'm sure all of you have the flying dream, it's a good sign. It means your soul is expressing itself, he says, and you're moving to better places. One more little set, and we'll do a lot more next class. We're going to just keep doing this next class. Water. Seeing water in a dream, generally speaking, is a good sign, because en maim ella Torah. Water is a metaphor for life, right? And there's no greater life than Eitz Chaimi, than the Torah. So seeing water in a dream, generally speaking, is a good. Let's get back to it. I had a dream recently. By the way, my wife says she never dreams, or doesn't remember dreams. That's not true. Everyone sees dreams, they just forget what they are. Okay? For some reason, mine just stay in my head. I don't know why that happens to be. So, no significance. No significance. Many people will write them down when they wake up. If you do remember your dream and it stays with you, then you assume it's an important thing and it's kind of stayed inside your mind. A lot more chance, yeah. If you don't see dreams for 7 days, the Gemara says it's a very, very bad sign. But everyone sees something when they're in the REM dream state. They always will see something. So water is good. I saw a dream, I think on Shabbat actually. Dreams on Shabbat are more significant because there's a high level of Kedusha. Okay? So dreams on Shabbat are good. I had a dream which, probably shouldn't say this, I typed into ChatGPT. And it gave me an interpretation from the Zohar that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe the brilliant, just the, true or not, irrelevant, just the way it was able to blend the information I was giving it based upon Jewish sources, right, from the Zohar and from secular sources as well, which it's like any form of interpretation and understanding. Even he quotes Aristotle and other people I've never heard of, great Persians, he quotes as being great German interpreters, non-Jewish ones. Yeah. Yeah. Say what? It didn't give me the exact, it didn't say where. I didn't double click and find out where, but it said, according to the Zohar and according to Kabbalah, it makes sense. The dream was basically, I saw, that's another weird dream, it made me completely meaningless, but I saw a vast amount of sea lions on the water and on the shore. So ChatGPT, when I typed it in, because I've become obsessed with this new thing now, actually says when you see the border between, according to Kabbalah, water represents rachamim and dry land is more earthy. If you see the difference between them, it has certain significance to a person and to dream interpretation. It was very, very interesting. I can't remember exactly, but it gave a whole long interpretation of seeing. And these creatures make a loud noise. And this actually is true. If you see, we're going to talk about it next week, God willing, creatures that make a loud noise, right, which sea lions, are loud creatures as opposed to fish which are quiet and don't make sound, also has significance about seeing them in dreams. Okay? By the way, seeing fish in dreams, generally speaking, is a very, very good sign. Okay? A sign of wealth because fish increase. And therefore, you're going to have an increase in goodness. Having said all that about water, he does say, seeing a well in a dream, this is actually, the Gemara says this, right? A river, a kettle, or a bird, the Gemara says. It's actually the name of a book written by Rabbi Feldman, which I have at home. If you see those three, it's a very good sign. If you see a well, it means you're going to have peace. And that's because Yitzchak's servants dug wells, and they call it, a life source over there of living water. So that's also a very good thing to see. A dream of rain is very good. Dream of rain is very, very good. Unless it's raining very loudly outside, and then it could be nothing at all. Well, what? No. If you see raging waters, and you're trapped in this raging waters, he says, that's bad. If you see the sea rush to drown you, says Rashi, you will fall into the power of an enemy who's going to treat you harshly. Not good. If you see the sea receding, drying up, the rule of a country will be removed. Don't know why you would dream about a ruler. If you see the sea, if you see yourself walking on foot in the sea, don't travel on foot that day. So he says. What? No. I saw one. I was at my childhood home. When I dream of being at home, I'm at my home when I was a child. I'm never in my house. I've been living in for the past 20 years. I always dream home as where I grew up as a little child, from the age of 5 to 15. That's just me. That's always. That's why I always see myself over there. If you see yourself drinking water, it's a very good sign. If you see yourself drinking cold water, your money's going to increase. B'ezrat Hashem. If you see yourself drink spring water, it's very beneficial. Dirty, murky waters, one can imagine, is not good. Okay? Yeah.
What if you have one good component of the dream and one bad component? Do they even out and it doesn't mean anything?
That I don't know. I do not know if you have conflicting parts of a dream. It could be that part of that dream we said, remember, from Yosef, that he saw every dream we learned from Yosef has a little bit of garbage in it, has a little bit of nothing in it.
So from what you said before, why would any interpreter, if dreams are based on how you interpret them, why would any interpreter give a bad interpretation?
They probably shouldn't. You have to be very, very careful. You go to interpret your dreams. It could be you go to a non-Jewish person, or a person who doesn't like you, or a person who's jealous of you. Who knows? They give you a bad interpretation. You have to be very, very careful. But it could be that you go to someone. It could be that the dream could be a bad dream. I mean, there's many stories. If you look in Holocaust literature, but again, it was in the air anyway. So how much significance of people having very, very bad dreams and acting upon them before the Holocaust actually kicked in. So that came as a bad dream. They're like, something bad's coming. We better get out. So is that a bad it's a good interpretation to help you out of a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? That's probably what it is. Yeah? You don't want to see yourself bathing in hot water in your dreams. If you see yourself swept by the wind and flying around, it means you're going to have rulership and you're in control of some part of your life. It's a very good dream to have. Yeah?
So if you have a not great dream, you take $100, go to your best most positive friend.
Great question. So you have a bad dream, take $100, give it to your best friend, say, give me a good interpreter. Will that work?
Be like, I had a dream, but you gave me $100.
I would say better to give in tzedakah, because Hashem is the ultimate arbiter of everything. Put money in tzedakah, okay? And, or the equivalent of one meal, or a day's worth of meals could be sufficient. And go in front of the Kohanim while they're doing Birchat Kohanim and say that prayer over there. That would work much, much better. If you're troubled and want an interpretation, you need to go to someone who knows what they're talking about. You need to know that person knows what they're talking about for sure. Okay, we shall stop over there. We'll pick this up next week, and we'll pick up on fire. Will be the launching point for next week, B'ezrat Hashem.
Does it say if you dream something?